Alright, Coolio. Today we're going to be doing absolute value inequalities, and I know what you're thinking. I don't want to do absolute values, and then you're thinking, I don't want more inequalities, but that's what we're doing anyway. Now, we did the less thans in class, and we talked about the ideas behind it. What I'm going to do right now is a couple of greater thans. Okay, so the first thing I want you to remember is that absolute value means the distance from 0. So this is saying that c plus 2 is more than 5 spaces away from 0. Alright, so now if we think about this, now keep in mind this is not the answer, this is just Mr. Bowata thinking in his head. We've got, if I'm trying to show a distance from 5, right, obviously 5 is a distance of 5 and negative 5 is a distance of 5, but I want the distance to be greater than 5. And so in order to do that, I'm going to have to find all the answers that are out here, because all of those would be bigger than 5. And then I need all the answers that are out here, because all of those would also be bigger than 5. And so obviously you can look at this and you can say, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to represent that using an and. This needs to be an or. Okay, so now we're going to write two equations. If it's an absolute value function, we know that it's going to have equations, two equations. And so the first equation is going to be the negative situation, right? Everything out here. And so that's going to be negative c plus 2 is greater than 5. And then we're going to say or, and then we're going to do the positive situation, which is just c plus 2 is greater than 5. And so let's go ahead and solve both of those. We're going to distribute the negatives. We got negative c minus 2 is greater than 5. We'll add 2 to both sides. Now we've got negative c is greater than 7. We'll multiply both sides by negative, or divide both sides by negative. We're going to get c is less than negative 7. Alright, now this one's going to be a little bit easier even. Yeah, even easier. How about that? And then we got greater than 3. So then we've got our two sides. This is an or. So if I put this on my number line, because I want to represent all the answers. So I got 0, I got 3, I got some negative 7. Now c is less than negative 7 here, which is going this way. And then c is greater than 3, which would be going that way. So that's my work. My final answer I'm going to put on my number line here. So or means I want to include anything that is represented by either of my equations. And so this one represents everything in that equation. This one represents everything in that equation. And together, these represent all the solutions. So if I choose any numbers over here bigger than 3 or any down here smaller than negative 7, that will work in my equation. It'll get me a number greater than 5. Okay, let's try one more since we got a bit more time. Let's go on, and we're going to do this one. This one is going to be a little bit more difficult, but we're going to go through it a little bit faster since we understand the idea now. Okay? Now again, we want to consider both the negative and the positive. This is greater than, so I want my distance to be greater than 12, right? So there's 12 and negative 12. Again, I want to get the numbers that are outside, that are bigger than 12 or far more than 12 spaces away. And so in order to get more than 12 spaces away, I'm going to go negative 3n plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. And I'm going to go 3n plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. Now from there I can just solve those. We'll distribute the negative. Negative 3n minus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. Add the 6 to both sides. I got 1 minute left, so this is going to have to be fast. We can go faster. We got 18. We're going to divide by the negative 3. We got n. Switch the sign because you just divided by a negative. 18 divided by negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, of course this is an or because we mentioned that before. We want the outsides, so this is going to be or. We'll subtract 6 here. So I've got 3n is greater than or equal to 6. Divide by 3. N is greater than or equal to 2. We put that on our number line, right? We've got 2. We've got negative 6. Of course, 0 somewhere there in the middle. If I draw this one, it's going to be less than or equal to 6. If I draw this one, it's equal to or greater than 2. You put those together. This right here will represent everything from the n is less than or equal to 6. This one right here will represent everything greater than 2. Remember, or means that we want to represent anything that works